Who cares? What's up? What's up? So we're back on our new another week, drinking coffee, about to start the day, huh, Errol?
Absolutely. It's what time is it? I think it's like 10 a.m. for me right now on Saturday. So absolutely ready to
hmm
begin my day. 5 hours after I
Yeah,
woke up.
five
We are ready
hours.
to get
Nice.
it.
Wait, what? Dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait,
I
you
don't
woke
know,
up
man.
early today?
Yeah, I always wake up at like 5 to 6. Because I do that during the week
Mm,
anyways. And even when
yeah.
like I went to sleep last night at like midnight, and even then my body was like, no, 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 no. 8 hours of sleep, we don't do that here. We're gonna wake up the same
Mm.
time as always, 6 a.m. I think today was like 5:30, and I just kind of stayed in my bed for an hour just thinking about life, as I usually do. So
Uh, yeah, that sometimes happens. That's really relatable. I don't know. I have the opposite problem. Like recently I've been like sleeping really late.
mhm.
But obviously that's not desirable because then you feel really tired in the morning, at least for me.
Mhm.
So it's just, but the problem is like I feel it sometimes, like if you ever think about flow state and all these things, like my I feel like my greatest like mental capacity is at nighttime as a night owl.
Mhm.
And so like you kind of have to trade off between, okay, can I do my best work at like 2 a.m. in the morning, but then I'll be really tired the next morning, and then like I'll
Mhm.
probably be really unproductive for the next day. So it's like, which is better, you know?
Yeah,
It's
it's
hard.
like I was watching this one video, and I can't think of the name off the top of my head what it was, but there are some people who just naturally are, they have much more energy in the mornings. That's when they do the most work, and that's where they should do the
Yeah.
most work, just because that's just how their bodies are. While other people are more like afternoons, but most people are at night. So night owls, just like you, where they're out here grinding the asses off of like 9, 10 o'clock, even like 2 in the
Yeah.
morning, right? But I don't know, like
Right.
to each their own. It's something biological with us. I am definitely a morning guy. I don't like staying up too late. I like waking up early because I also kind of feel like a little bit like I feel like starting off your day just really strong, whether it's going to the gym or just doing some just like a little bit of work or reading Wall Street Journal, or just ideally
Mhm.
doing all three of those in the morning. It just kind of sets your day up, and it's like, yeah, like we're ready to tackle the day, no matter what comes up. The hardest part of my day has already been over, but that's just me.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people that say that, right? Especially morning owls. That's like the spiel. Um, I feel like that is definitely aspirational. There is something to be said that if I wake up in the morning, I want to achieve these things, but usually what
Mm,
ends up happening is like I guess my body is just not used to it, so that I still feel like mentally tired, even when I'm like
yeah,
quote unquote bodily refreshed. So even if I was to like say, oh, I'm gonna go to bed at 11 at night, which is like really early to me. That's really messed up.
yeah,
And then I wake up at even like 7 or something like that. I would still feel like, wow, 7, it's like earlier, but I still feel tired. Like I would just
yeah,
want to like mentally wake up at 11. And so this difference between 7 to 11, not
yeah.
intended. It's like, mentally kind of not there. It's not like clicking that
Yeah,
much.
you are a night owl, like most people in the tech space are. Even my director of
Yeah.
engineering was telling me too. Like he likes it when nobody really comes to, or not comes to him, but like he likes the silence and the idea of just focusing on your work because everyone's winding down for the day. Once the night goes on. So I definitely see that, but I mean, I don't know. I'm just weird. I like the mornings. But even that too, like I'm not like waking up like full of energy, like woo, like no, 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 no. I'm still like usually
Yeah.
tired as fuck. Like I said, like today, just staying in my bed 1 hour, just thinking about life. So,
Mhm.
as a young 23-year-old, 23-year-old kid would do. So
Yeah,
good
it's
man.
really weird for me. I don't know how to navigate like quote unquote healthier habits because I feel like when it's really crunch time, and you can talk about this too, because I know you've been in crunch times in your like
Mm,
previous experience. It's like sometimes sleep shouldn't exist because you start to get very bogged down by how do I say this? Like your anxiety goes up, but then it's like a good anxiety. Like not because the deadline's like tomorrow. I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
Mhm.
like if you like there were days where I maybe would work and then I would work for like 2 days and then crash the third day.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's normal. Like I think
No,
it's
that is.
really taxing your body, but like you would work for like maybe more than 24 hours. And then by the time you start to get to like past the 24 hours, like going into the next 12-hour stage, that's when you're like maximum like effort limitations are about to be broken here. And then you're kind of like,
Yeah.
well, if everything is just going to be a last push, right? Like fight or
Yeah.
flight response just kicks in. So when you go and fight, like this is your strongest move set. You know what I mean? Like this is like
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
last ounce of strength, and it has to be everything's just so good, and you emulate that over and over again. Like it just feels better, but at the same time it's like that's not healthy. Like
Right.
it's like it's chasing a high that's just really bad essentially.
Yeah, that's why like when somebody asked me actually fairly recently, like maybe a few months ago, somebody asked me what is one of the happiest moments of your life? I honestly think back to all of those crunch times we've had. I really enjoyed
Hmm.
that. I kind of enjoyed that high of being sleep deprived, being very high on Red Bulls, not eating too
Yeah.
much, just consistently working. It's like
Right.
it's a very first of all, it's quite unhealthy. You really should limit how much you do that. But I don't know, I really enjoy
Yeah.
that like really big push because I'm like because whatever we were working on, I was like, it's so important to me that I'm throwing away my entire life essentially to do it, which not a good habit. Once again, very bad. I think I changed a little bit, and
Yeah.
not really,
I
but
feel like it's the ultimate
yeah,
flow state. Like it's
yeah.
sorry, you continue,
No, no,
but
no, no,
yeah.
no, no, no. Like you're exactly right. It's the ultimate flow state, and I like it's not for everybody though. 100%. Like
Yeah.
so.
What I'm curious is how to like get to that level of focus or mindset of like or like YOLOing it. I don't know, like that's the best way to explain how it feels, right? Without like such an impending timeline, because I think you only usually do that until it like when it's like T-5, you know what I mean? Like when it's like, oh,
Mhm.
this shit's due tomorrow and you have like still a lot of work to do. That's not, you don't want to be in that precarious situation. But if you were able to fire all cylinders like to that level, like even 1 week out before the products, and you have a comfortable timeline, but you're able to also just like grind that out and you have the mentality to do it. Like I feel like that's aspirational. It's very hard though. I don't know how to like set the parameters to actually allow
Mhm.
for that. I think that's like something I want to explore more, and how to make it probably more healthy and sustainable.
Yeah, because the biggest thing is just like stress, right? Stress is the biggest
Yeah.
motivation. Just or specifically timeline is like a very tight timeline is the best way for your anxiety to shoot up, your stress to shoot up. And there's the classic saying that I don't really like that much, but it's like stress makes a diamond. So I can't really think of any other ways to really shoot your stress levels up besides having a very tight deadline. I mean, you just said like you kind of want to explore a little bit more on it, how to do it without killing your body, because like there have been
Yeah.
times where it's like doing those crunch hours, like or crunch weeks actually. Like it got so bad at one point that I actually thought I was having a heart attack, and I had to go see a doctor, and
Right.
I was just like,
And you had to
hey,
go to the
like
doctor, right? Yeah.
yeah, and that was
Yeah, it's
bad, and I'm
crazy.
like, am I
Yeah.
dying? And then he's like, no, 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 like we did a bunch of tests, you seem fine. But we just think it was more like a mentality thing for you. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And he pretty much just told
Mm,
me like, yeah, like you have to fucking chill. So I'm like, all right, like fair
right.
enough. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know, like how do you make that healthier? Like what other ways can you put yourself under? I guess I know that you want to put yourself under an immense amount of stress without an impending timeline. Do you know of any other ways of doing that and getting into that flow state?
No. What I'm like, that's the problem. Like, I don't really care for the stress. If that is the parameter to activate flow state, then that's
Mhm.
really like scary, like in a way. But it makes sense, right?
Right.
Because it's like evolutionary. Like if you think about biology, that makes a lot of sense. If you're talking about um these sort of fight or flight,
Yeah.
mechanisms, then that's kind of where it's coming from. But surely there has to be a way to hack that, right? Where you have like a mentality to just like do it. Like people say that screw like motivation. Discipline is where you want to be. But
Mhm.
discipline to me is like knowing how to activate that flow state like immediately because you've
Yeah,
been so trained to do it that you don't need external like factors to kind of make you do it. You're just like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm not like thinking, oh, I have to be in the mood to do it. No, you just do it. So how do you
right.
flip that switch on like to do that sort of discipline without the stress? I don't know. I think there's like certainly some people that know or crack the code on maybe discipline, extreme discipline to the point where
Yeah,
they don't need such an impending timeline, but they have like
right.
set imposed timelines that they just keep invisible to everyone else.
Yeah. That's the thing, because I mean, at the end of the day, I think we're just human, right? Like we need to have some some motivation, some external factor that makes us say, okay, this is really important for me, or for us, or for the team, whatever it is. We need to get this done. And like, I mean, at the end of the day, like we're humans. Like that's like it has to be important for us to actually get stressed out and actually start to enter this flow state. Because yeah, I'm going to enter this flow state because this is so important to me. And I don't know if you can just trigger it on and off. I don't think it is honestly possible. I think it's just, yeah, this is important. Let's get this done. Um,
Mm, yeah.
yeah,
I don't
I wish
know.
there
It's
was
really
another
messed
way.
up. Like, like
Yeah.
I want to hack it. I feel like it's something that is hackable because the whole concept of flow state is that it's in that borderline between boredom but difficult, right? Like if it's too boring, then you're just gonna be like, wow, I'm like tired of this. If it's too hard, you're gonna be like shutting down because it's like this is impossible. So it's like
Mm,
that in between state of what you think is boring and what you think is impossible, like it's enough of a challenge but also addicting to want to continue, right? It's like there's change at least. I don't know how like to activate that unless you're trained to do that.
actually, I just thought about something. And this is where the
What's up?
conversations might take a little bit of a turn. But
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
I have heard, and I've never dabbled into it. I've, you know, I'm a good boy, good Christian boy. I'm not Christian actually, but I'm a good innocent boy. But I do know a lot of people in tech and particularly in finance. I think you know where I'm going with this, Thomas. They like to
Yeah, I
have
think you know.
yeah, they like to ingest certain substances to get into that flow
Mm,
state. And that's something I've been hearing, you know, because I grew up in Jersey, right? Like
yeah.
originally it was just kind of like I don't really know if we want to get the fuck it. So like a lot of people smoked weed, and a lot of people kept saying, "This is my flow state. This is how I generate ideas and whatnot." And as my life has progressed, I realized that a lot more people are doing a little bit more of some other substances to also enter that flow state. And I don't know if that's ever
Yeah.
like I said, I've never done it. I don't think I ever will. But you know, I've heard that that's the reason a lot of people do it, is because it gets those creative juices flowing. It gets that that let's do something. But I don't know if you've also
I,
heard the same thing, but
I'm gonna be real. I feel like, well, I don't have experience with like Adderall or really bad drugs, I would say that
yeah.
kind of changed that. But amongst the more recreational stuff, I don't think it helps at all. Like even
Mm,
caffeine, like there's a limit to how much caffeine that you can drink before it just actually starts doing the opposite effect. Like certainly for me, what I've noticed is I have to like sip my coffee for long stretches of time and have a lot of water in between to like
mm,
maximize the effects of caffeine. If I just drink like one cup of coffee, it actually dehydrates me too quickly. And so I'm like more tired than actually non-tired. That's me.
yeah.
Um I can't see how somebody gets into a flow state even creatively with weed. That's not like I just don't see that.
I
Like, yeah, that
I don't
doesn't
know
make any
either.
sense to me.
I've
Yeah.
like I said, this is what a lot of people have been telling me. No, okay, I'm gonna get a lot of backlash for this probably, but you know, I've always kind of I saw it as always an excuse because people wanted to always see a benefit of smoking weed or doing another like really hard drug, like or even something like LSD or a
Hmm.
psychedelic, right? I always felt like people just
Yeah.
always wanted to come up with just excuses in terms of or and any benefit that comes from doing it. If that makes sense. Like I feel like people just want to say I do this because of this because it actually is helpful for me. Um, but I'm like, I'm very inexperienced. I don't know too much about it, but that's how I've always viewed it. And I do know,
Mm,
however, that a lot of people still prop up that claim, and there's a lot of like really interesting research going on in that space right now to
yeah,
see, of course, like the health benefit, but does it actually make you either work harder? Does it make you more focused? Well, I mean, Adderall does,
yeah,
which but there's a lot of research
yeah.
going on right there. So I'm actually interested to learn a little bit more about it, but I can't say for certain right now, but I do have this preconceived notion, like you do, kind of, where it's just I don't see it.
I It's hard because again, people's chemical makeups are all very different. So maybe what I experience and I have, you know, thought through is very different. Like even my mentality or whatever is different under these substances than some other people. Like I know that some people can just drink, for example, a crap ton of Red Bulls and that actually
Mm,
powers them through. For
yeah,
me, I know if I were to drink like a Red Bull, I would have an immediate like boost of energy, but immediate crash,
yeah,
like, and drinking more Red Bulls would just not really like, it would probably actually do the reverse where I would just have more crashes. So basically you're going like up, but then by the time you drink the second Red Bull, you like peak wise are like already going in the negative, at least for me.
mm,
Um,
interesting.
so for weed, I could totally see like, I don't know if this is like a controversial claim, but like in Thailand, it's completely legal. Like it's totally fine. You can
Really?
buy
It's wait, it's
anything.
illegal?
Yeah, yeah, it
I did
is.
not
You could
know
just
that.
buy it. You could just buy all of these on the street and anywhere you
What?
want. And they have different strands and stuff. So yeah, for like
What?
Christmas, I tried edibles. And they were
Okay.
like really wonky. Like they were good. Like obviously when like they have dispensaries and stuff as well. Like it's not like
What?
shit, right? Very, yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah. So you like go into there and they're like, okay, here's this thing, and it has this amount of THC and all that stuff, right? So we had our like dinner, my dad and I, and then we were like, okay, well, like, what the fuck? And then we tried it, right? And like, the thing is, after like 1 hour, we're like, this shit is nothing. And then like, I think this is a common story. Anybody that has
Oh,
ever done this, like, they just know, right? Like, we're like, this
yeah.
is fucking nothing. Like, this does nothing. So we were like popping this shit. Like, we did like three
Oh,
each, and then it
oh,
just all came at once. And then we're like, oh fuck, right? Like, and then we're just
oh
like
no.
wonky the rest of the night. But I cannot see again with like that mentality, like where I was at for the rest of the night. There's no fucking shot that I'm doing any code or anything that's work related because I'm like so out of the loop.
Okay. To be fair, well, do you know how much THC was in each one? How much of the Kush was
Oh,
packed?
give or take around 9.
Okay,
I don't
okay,
know like what that means. 9%
okay.
each. Yeah,
Um,
so if you like
okay.
sum it up, it was actually quite a bit, bro. Like I was like,
Yeah, I'll
oh
be honest. Yeah, I
man.
don't know what exactly that means, but yeah, I
Usually one
that
joint from what I understand, it's like around 20, like a whole fat joint is like 20, maybe I don't know if it's grams or percents. I don't actually know because I'm like so
we
inexperienced. The
we
joke
do
is
weed.
like,
Weed,
yeah.
yeah, weed is
But all I know is,
grams.
yeah, all I
Not that
know
I
is
would know
I
for
had
us, but
pretty no,
yeah.
but the like the grams are just the weight of the actual plant. I'm talking about like the percentage. I think it's a percentage of THC. Like when people talk about THC, they talk about percentage. They don't talk about grams because 27 grams, that's a lot, right? That's like a
That's
bag of weed. Like that doesn't make any sense.
just
Yeah.
two guys talking about weed. This is kind of sad, yeah. But anyways, yeah, but
Well,
I've
I
heard a
can
lot of stories
say
about
from
that
my
too.
experience, it doesn't make you a better programmer, at least with like population n equals 1 here.
Mm,
If anything, it made me incapable of writing code because I cannot see
interesting.
like how you could have the mental focus to do it. It was so funny, like so when it came like just like all at once, essentially you just had like you can have a like at least for me, I had like a phantom cough. It wasn't that great. So like I wouldn't say I would like dabble in it again, but yeah, it was an experience. So I
Well,
think for people in the US, it's like, some people are going to probably keep on trying it because it's like more and more easy to do, or like from the law perspective.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I'm like okay with it, but at the same time, I'm like, I would just like drink water or be more normal
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fair. I mean, yeah, it was your first time too, so who knows? Like maybe next time you do
yeah,
it, it's gonna be a little different, but I'm not too sure. Yeah, I just never enjoyed the lifestyle attached to smoking weed or doing edibles or any of that. Because I've always
yeah,
seen it as kind of like very laid back, very, we're not going to do work. It's very anti hustle, which is something that I'm just personally for me, it's just not something I would enjoy doing. But
yeah.
I don't know,
I can see it. I just feel like everything gets harder to do. Like that's what I experienced. Like it definitely is. Like you can't fit. Like at least for me, you can't physically hustle if you're like
if you're
if you're
if
already
you're
under the
gone,
influence. Like
yeah.
there's no way. Like there's no way. But then again, there are like different strands that like usually the normal strands, if I understand this correctly, like mellow you down, and then there's ones that like hype you up. So maybe it's like the one that I tried is not the right type to hype you up into like overclocking your brain essentially. But I think most strands are like underclocking your brain, if anything, right? Like trying to energy conserve and just like make you kind
Mm.
of wonky.
Actually, I'm gonna text a friend of mine right now. I'm really curious about this because I've always known that like weed and edibles, it was always to mellow you out. I've never heard of one that like actually like, hypes you up. Gives you a lot of energy to do anything. I know like I said, like
Yeah,
that's more
I don't I don't
of
know.
the psychedelics. That's Adderall is a big one for just like getting shit done. Have you done Adderall at all?
Yeah.
No.
Fuck no. I don't think I
Yeah.
ever will because like to me it's already crossing a line. And again, I'm not like shitting on people that use it, but at the same time I think I'm more worried that maybe I sound ironic, and like for some people that like listen to this, they might be like, well, you already tried weeds. You're kind of already like you're in the deep zone. You already like dropped yourself into the pool here. But I think for something like Adderall, there are like really clear effects where if you take too much, you can definitively die. Like it's not a question, right? People like that take it over and over again. This like you're just popping it like nothing. Like there's a limit on how much it's like going to benefit you, but it's also there's a limit on how much your body can stand, because reality
Mm,
wise is like that is a synthetic drug where you
yeah.
can overdose like so easily if you're not really thinking it through,
Yeah.
right?
And I think a lot of people just had this mentality because, especially, you're in college, there's a lot of pressure and you're young and kind of stupid. I mean, like, we're young and stupid still, too, even though we graduated college. But
Yeah.
especially when
Yeah.
you're like a freshman and sophomore, I feel like some people had the mentality of having more Adderall would make you more focused. Because I know a few people who
Yeah.
would just take them just way too often. Like, I don't know how much you should take, but I'm like, girl, you be taking like one every few hours. Like, no, 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 no. Like,
That's not
yeah,
good. Yeah.
and yeah, there was also like one girl I knew in college, and she would have a little box, and we would call it the mystery box because it would just have like a bunch of different pills in it. And I really shouldn't be saying this, but
Oh,
like, I mean,
really?
and NYU is a very big school, but she would have this like mystery
Yeah.
box of pills, and every now and then, like just during class, you would look over to her, and then she would open it and just take a random pill out because there were different colors and shit, and like different sizes, and
Yeah.
then she would just take one, and she would do that in the beginning of class and at the end of class. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you
Dang.
doing? And then she's like, some of it's Adderall, some of it's not. And I'm like, what the fuck? Uh, but like I
Yeah.
said, like she was an incredibly intelligent student too. She was out here working her ass off. So for her, it worked. I mean, I don't know where she is now. God bless her. I hope everything turned out
Yeah.
well. But yeah, everyone's
I
different and
think
everyone has different
yeah,
experiences.
it's hard to measure again the effects that you gain. Like my always biggest worries for sometimes like for things like this is just what are the long standing effects, right? Like you can't measure how like this might be like I'm not saying Adderall does this because I don't know the actual like deal or any sort of studies that have been conducted, but my main worry, even taking like weed or whatever, right? Like is, oh, now you're going to have like higher increase probability of like I don't know, dyslexia when you're no, not dyslexia. Sorry, dementia. Yeah, you start reading backwards. No, no,
Yeah.
like dementia when you're like older, or like you have more predisposal to like mental diseases because you're like maybe pushing your body in a way that wasn't normal. Um, that to me is obviously way like more worrying. And I think it would be like, to me from a theoretical point of view, it makes a lot more sense that like synthetics in certain shapes or forms, especially if they're made poorly, like can increase those types of probabilities, because you're putting something like so foreign that has no earthly way of being composed itself without like man-made processes, and you're ingesting that. Like it's kind of the same thing as steroids, right? Like not to say that steroids are bad, but here's an example of like something that is very common. I have eczema. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's just basically you have like really dry skin to the point where it's like screwed up.
Hey,
Um,
I got the same thing,
and
man.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not I'm
So
not even
like
kidding.
there's
I
a
got the
very
fucking hand shit next to me. Yeah.
yeah, so it's very common to like buy like an ointment or whatever, right? Like
Hmm.
trisimilone or whatever, and just like put it on, and that's okay. Like this is like the most like kitty level shit. Like you don't, I'm not talking about like oxycodone or like some like really crazy stuff here, but even then, like extended use of even using like what I would consider the most safe steroid thins out your skin like significantly. And so my grandma, for example, like she had, yeah, it does. So she has a lot of extreme eczema, and so when she was like younger, right, she would actually put this on pretty frequently. But it was actually bad for her now that she's like, older, because your skin, your skin actually thins out when you're getting older too, right? But like it's paper thin. So
Mm.
like if when she's not careful, if she like bumps her hand or whatever, it can like literally just go like, like
Oh.
it's stuff like that where it's like, okay, well, I won't have the problems now because I'm like, able to regenerate skin. But you don't really know like how much you're losing out, right? Like the only thing is you do need to put it on like maybe when it's really bad and like so itchy and you need to cure this. But using it like over and over again for even the most mundane thing, right? Like it's already creating like such inconsequential consequences in
Mm.
the future. So I can only imagine like something that is more serious, something that's even more potent. There's no like shot that this is actually like like any better than the thing that I was just describing.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. It's like I keep saying, like I don't know enough about it. I wish I did. I kind of want to research a little bit more, but everyone's different. Everyone has their own
Mm,
opinions. But also, it's kind of going back to like entering this flow state too. There are some people who say that like their own like meditations and yoga
yeah.
poses get them in that flow state too. I've never tried it primarily because I don't know. I think I'm just too prideful to say I do meditation, so I just never did it. But I don't know. What have you heard about yoga meditation? Have you done that? I'm curious.
Yes. So I
Okay.
do yoga and I do meditation. Yoga is more okay, it's really hard because my aunt this is kind of funny. My aunt, she is actually a yoga instructor, and like this is like hobby, but it's up to the point where she
Yeah.
has won awards and like actually teaches classes and stuff like that, right?
Really?
Um
Okay.
yes, yes.
Super
In
cool.
like
Okay.
Malaysia. So she's like a certified instructor and all this stuff, right?
Right.
And there is some like probably mental benefits, but there's also a lot of, I would say the main benefit, at least for me in my experience, is the physical benefits that you can get more like flexibility and just generally have a lot of like I guess balanced flow. So like doing a downward dog, for example, helps like really do these static holds, right? It's like I don't really know how to explain it. It's really good for just balancing out a lot of different things. If you're doing a lot of like strength training, for example, like you really focus on one group, but you don't focus on like the I guess the tendons or the things that are around that group unless you like really
Mm.
go crazy, right? But either way, you're like maximizing only these major muscle groups, maybe not the smaller muscle groups. So yoga is kind of like sometimes it's really intense that you can see like a really buff guy doing these sort of exercises, and it's really hard for them for yoga because
No.
it's training like these things that are not those big muscles sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But for meditation, it is it's very hard. I feel like, okay, meditation in my experience, right? So I've used like all the things like Headspace, I've used Peloton meditation, I've used like a crap ton of meditation. I've even just sat there and just like
Mm,
done a meditation. It only for me starts working when certain conditions are met. So either your brain is like overclocked once again, like you're thinking too much and you need to like calm down. And then also the duration and how many times you have done it. So like think of it as like almost like a streak. You will not feel like, at least for me, the benefits only until you've done it like 3 times in a row. That's because you like it's the same thing that you're
what?
building a habit. Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean by 3 times in a row? Like you would have to do it like 3 times in like a week, or what do you mean by that? Like in a row?
Well, I think the best like form of meditation is to like spend maybe 10 minutes in silence or whatever in the morning. Like I like to do this in the morning. And then
Right.
you just kind of like, enter this mindset of like breathing and just being very open to your space, very aware of your surroundings. But you do it like maybe once a day. And only on like the third day does it
Mm,
like start to feel like, huh, like I'm actually taking a breath here and I'm actually like feeling it. You know what I mean? Like, because what happens is it calms down. At least for me, it felt like it after the third day, it does actually start to like just really keep you in a calm mindset. I wouldn't say it keeps you in a flow state, because flow state to me is more like a challenge is in front of you and you're trying to accomplish, right? But it's like a buff. Like if you're playing a video game, this is like a buff, right? Where you're
mm,
increasing your attack or whatever. Like this is increasing your mental capacity to do maybe a long stranded focused amount of work because you're more calm to that focus.
interesting. And you said that you get
Yeah.
that benefit only after you started getting used to the meditation and doing it after you just said
Yeah.
your third time, right?
Yeah. Cause like the first time and the second time, even like a little bit the third time, you're like, okay, this is just dumb, like sitting here with my eyes closed and I'm just like breathing. You know what I mean? Like I understand
Yeah.
the feeling of dumbness, but when you start
Hmm.
to like go past that, and you're like, well, I want to sit here. I might as well like actually try, right? To like
Yeah.
not declutter the mind, but just really try to stay calm. I think that's like usually, at least for me, that's what I see like really good meditations about. It's not always like there's different types of meditation, right? There's ones where you do need to like clear your mind, but there's also ones where you're like prepping to get into a mindset, and that's really
Mm,
what's important. So if you want to get like ready to attack the day, there are some types of instruction on how to do that. So they'll be like, okay, think about, visualize like what you want to achieve for today while you're doing this breathing, and then visualize the day you doing it, and then after you're done after 10 minutes, you're like mentally there, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this.
got it.
Like you're basically pre-prepped your mind. And I think that's why meditation can be powerful.
And can you pre-prep your mind for different scenarios? Like, for example, can you have a meditation for getting into a business meeting? Can you have a meditation for maybe you have a public speaking event you have to go to? Like, can you actually have some flexibility for it, or is it just one meditation for just
Yes.
getting your head in the game?
Well, it is whatever you make of it, right? But that's that
Mm,
flow. This is the flow that you construct out of the meditation. I can say this for certain because I was reading this in a book a while back and I find it very
right.
interesting. Michael Phelps, the guy who won all these I'm sure I don't even need to explain it,
I
right?
mean, yeah, yeah,
His
we
coach,
know.
yeah, when he
Yeah,
was younger, his coach, if I recall this correctly, said that every night he had to go to bed, and the last thing he did every night was to visually, mentally think about how he would be winning the Olympics. Like this is even before the first win or whatever, when he was like young as shit, right? And like that could be pre-prepping, but I would consider that a meditation where he just mentally is like, how am I going to accomplish being that athlete, being in that highest form, highest potential, highest like crazy amount of talent and work, and what is the work that I need to get there. So it's basically mentally like preparing for the next day all the way to
right.
race day. uh and if you do that, you start to like get this mentality of like not just discipline, but you get to the point where like, okay, well, I've mentally thought about this so much that I feel like it's more certain. It's a more like realistic thing to visualize rather than not visualize. So you're basically using your
I
imagination to
see.
your benefit. And there are studies where this is actually like
Right.
a good thing to have. So an example for at least double bass, I don't remember the study, but there was a study that was like conducted where people that were like decent musicians were able to, like, they split two groups where you either had one group that like actually practiced for a week, and then you had another group that like mentally like had all the music and stuff, but like mentally imagined themselves playing the music, but they weren't like actually given an instrument. And they found that like the results were almost near same, at least for a
Really?
week. I think it starts to like differ after a week, but like in the beginning stages of just like mentally going through these things and how you would do this experience, like it starts to become almost similar. And I find
Mm,
that interesting because it's like the power of literally mentally projecting how you would do this is enough to even like compete against someone that has practice
right.
in the beginning. I think there's obviously like extensive like, well, if you don't know what your instrument feels like and you feel uncomfortable with that, then you're thrown off. But
Right.
like we're talking about experienced musicians as well. We're not talking
Right.
about
Right.
beginners, right? Like people that are in the know, they already like kind of have a mental projection, a very clear mental projection of how to practice, for example.
Right. Like I couldn't do that. Like right
Yeah.
now, like I can't mentally project myself playing the piano and then go on stage and like fuck it up. You know, like
Yeah.
I the last
Yeah,
time
it
I
doesn't
touched
it
a
doesn't
piano
work
was in
like
middle
that.
school. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think with
Hmm.
Michael Phelps
Yeah.
especially, it's interesting because not only is he projecting his dreams to become a reality, like every night he does that,
Yeah.
but he's also putting in the work. So he's like, during the day, we're gonna
Yeah.
fucking get after it, eat his 4,000 calories a day, you know, burn it all off, which is wild to me. But he does that, and then at the
Yeah.
end of the day, he's projecting himself winning. So it's not just you know, it's not just thinking about it, but it's also now doing it. And I think that's a really deadly
Yeah.
combination. And just like you said, with like the
Yes.
two study groups of the decent musicians, it's yeah, okay. So we saw how it was with people practicing. We saw how it was with people thinking that they were doing it. Now, what if you have this balance between the two? And I think that honestly, doing it is definitely, in my opinion, the most important thing. But adding this
Yeah.
visualization and turning your like I'm kind of bouncing around it, but I don't know what the terminology is called for it. But just turning your dreams into reality, I guess. I think that's definitely
Yeah.
very beneficial because at the end of the day, you have to always think about, well, okay, you have to get into that mindset of not just having your body do the work, but having your mind also do it too. And that's very
Right.
interesting. I might start doing that too. It's I don't know if that's meditation.
Right.
Maybe it is.
No, it is. This is a subset. At least with the Peloton meditation, they have one type of meditation where they're calling it like goals.
Goals.
Like
Okay.
do your goal meditation. So if they're doing that to
Mm,
the extent, even if it's not like correct in the I guess the practices, right? I don't think it's a bad practice. And I'm sure
right.
that in some shapes or form, there are certainly people that do meditation solely for this. So I will say again, that's why you need like 3 days, because your mental picture of how to do these things and stay focused, even within your 10 minutes of meditation time, takes time to
Mm,
practice. You're like, you know what I mean? Like you won't feel it like the first day, even if you are intentionally trying to think about, oh, I'm gonna like mentally do this or mentally
right.
project how to do this. Because your awareness of yourself and how you actually go about doing these things is not in tune. It's like if you're a beginner runner, you want to run like 10K on day
Yeah.
one. It's just not realistic. What's realistic to run 1K, and then you'll be probably really tired by 3K, and you call it really successful. You're already at a 5K, right? Like this is like assuming you're healthy, but like you don't
Right.
start like saying, "Oh, tomorrow I'm going to run a marathon." You start with like again more smaller actionable steps. Maybe even for the first meditations, you need to do it for like 5 minutes instead of ten
And then
minutes.
work your way
But
up.
you should definitely try it out. Yeah,
Maybe I will. Like I said, I'm acknowledging that I'm prideful and I'm naive about this, but at the very least, like mentally thinking about like winning, I guess. I think that's a very just a good start and just taking baby steps. But I'll try that and I'll let you know how it goes. Maybe I'll talk about it during these little sessions too. But I mean, we are running out of time. It was a good chat as
yeah,
always. Any last
yep.
words, Thomas? One sentence thing.
Nope. Nope.
Okay, stay winning, guys. I guess I
All
don't
right.
fucking
Stay
know.
hard.
Oh,
All
no,
right.
no, no,
Bye.
no, 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 no.